establish ourselves, and so that we can, if we're going to interact with them, of course, and we're going to be on the same continent, that there will be a collaboration instead of being going there and looking for someone to accept us. That idea of us appealing to another group, that was, again, subordinating ourselves. And as in the film A Streetcar Named Desire, Blanche DeBar says she always relied on the kindness of strangers. We can't, metaphorically speaking, we can't do that. These people, we are estranged from them somewhat. We are, as W.E. Du Bois said in the book, The Souls of Black Folk, we are a unique ethnic group. And we have to maximize on that and embrace ourselves, and in terms of our own identity, the 500 or so years of socialization and what we have learned here that may be a benefit to them, our insight into the Western world. We lived in the belly of the beast, the most powerful nation on earth. We have some insights that they may benefit from, and also we have our own culture, our own sense of our values. We have our own agenda and goals based on where we came from. We are a distinct and separate culture, so we don't want to be absorbed by another culture. We're not trying to impose our will on anyone else. So therefore, for us to emigrate to another society, we probably would expect some kind of conflict. So to avoid that, we need to have our own sovereign state, so that we can, if we're going to have any kind of interaction with them, it'll be from a position of strength, not of weakness.
Yes, sir. That was once again, sir. I love the way you explain, to the individuals out here that are listening, and this is one of the things that we at the International African American Caucus are very, very much for, is we are not Afrophiles. We're not going back there because we want to be something that we're not. We are who we are as a people. And the world has to accept us. Even the Africans have to accept us for who we are first. It's going to take time for us as as a group of individuals to reintegrate back. It's going to take us to teach our children the languages of the continent, of the foods, of the different various cultures. And the beauty of building this nation is now that we have the ability to control our educational system, we have the full reign to teach them the history that we wish to teach. Real quick, we have 60 seconds left on the live broadcast. For those of you who want to continue to listen, please call in. You can then continue listening at 347-677-1858, 347-677-1858. And furthermore, what are our children being taught here in America? Look at the failures that are happening to the African American children in the inner cities that we're living in right now. Kids are coming out, and I have seen young men whom I love with all my heart, and some of them can't even read on the 5th grade level. So there is no question that our children are not being taught very well. Now, give us the opportunity, this is what we will do. When we have the opportunity to control our legislation and to put money into our education and be able to teach our children to be the masters of math and science and English and other various technical subjects that there are in the world, and then look what we can do for Africa itself. Not only for ourselves, the contribution that we can make for the continent itself. There's nothing wrong with us fighting for this right. We have the right. There are 82% of the countries of the world have an individual population less than 44 million. Why do they have the right to have a nation and we cannot? Why is it that countries with only 1 million people can be a country of their own, but yet we're 44 times larger than them and we can't? That is something I do not accept at all. There are many countries on the continent of Africa itself that have very small populations. If 1% of the African American people went back to the African continent, there are 60 countries in the world that have an individual population less than 600,000, 400,000 people. Yet we as African Americans are going all over the world, have fought and died in every single war that this country has been in for the preservation of liberty and the preservation of another culture's sovereignty. We can fight and die for another person to be sovereign. Look at what happened in Iraq. Now we went there, we took Saddam Hussein out. Now there's a Shiite majority government over there, and we as African Americans have spilled our blood so the majority of Shiites can rule themselves. And what are they doing now? Stealing from their own people. The corruption in Iraq, the corruption in Afghanistan. And we've lost young African American men so that other people can, quote, live free, and yet off of our backs we have made people millionaires and billionaires. Look at Korea, look at Japan. We went there and spilled our blood for the president so that the Koreans could be free and the Japanese can be free. And now we're selling Japanese and Korean and Chinese products all over the world. Right now we are selling their products. Our countries that have been destroyed, we went back, we helped rebuild, we helped provide security so that they can rule themselves, and now we're selling their products. Now I ask you, what Koreans have invested in the African American community? What Japanese have invested in your community? What Iraqis, what Afghans, what Kuwaitis, what people, French, Germans, anyone else in the world, what have they done and say, you know what, we're going to build a college for you, we're going to offer you free education for your children because you are the ancestors, you are the descendants of people that came and fought and died for us. And yet we accept that as the norm. This is nothing but our right to rule ourselves. And we are irrational in our thinking if we do not pursue this. How irrational of thinking. Imagine the irrationality of our minds that we have been so conditioned to not even believe that we can build a nation for ourselves when historically, from the historical facts, we have built the most powerful nation that has ever existed on this planet. It is absolutely preposterous to believe that we are not going to accomplish this goal and we do not have the right. The world owes us, if anyone. And we're not asking for their help. We're not asking for anything from them, money. All we're saying is get the hell out of our way. We're going to go get our land and we're taking the land back from our ancestral homeland, and do not interfere with our affairs. Let us build the nation that we wish to build. And what are we going to do with that nation? We're going to build a nation in which we can participate and help the world solve its problems, help humanity solve cancer, help humanity solve malaria, help humanity solve dengue fever, help humanity solve its agricultural problems. But at the same time, if the people would want to get in the way of us of achieving that goal, we do give ourselves the right to defend ourselves at all costs. We will have the ability to defend ourselves. It is our natural right. No longer will we be conquered. We will never allow the enslavement of our children. We can help stop the slavery that's there in Africa itself. We can show the world what it means to create a 21st century democracy. This is so needed. This has to be done. There is no question about it. Senator Sahaludeen, I'll give it to you, sir. Thank you.
I was really engrossed and enraptured by what you were saying, actually. Very inspiring, Captain. I really appreciate your oratory. I just wanted to also, like an addendum to what I was stating before about, we spoke about, us having sovereignty when we do migrate back to the homeland. This isn't, some people, their motivation may be spiritual, but we're talking in a very practical sense. The Zionist movement before they, on the Golda Meir and David Ben-Gurion, they actually were speculating as to going to Uganda before they settled on going back to Palestine. So we're talking about practicalities, what's in terms of, our quality of life. And when we look back at just an example of in South Africa in terms of us. It's imperative that we have our own sovereignty and not seek to simply become a part of another people's society. We look in South Africa where the native-born Africans there are the immigrants, because South Africa in that region is the most economically prosperous and there are more jobs, that you have people from Zambia and the bordering nations to South Africa. Many of the blacks are seeking to migrate to South Africa, and the blacks who are living in South Africa are murdering them. They have a practice of what they call necklacing, where they put gasoline in a car tire, put it on the individual's around his neck, and set that on fire. So, I mean, these are the kind of behaviors and conflicts that you can expect from certain factions in Africa if you want to coalesce with them. We need to value ourselves and maximize on our potential. Part of our self-concept is based on our oppression. I was reading on the internet about, many of the issues in terms of skin lighteners, and there are actually nations in Africa that have banned or outlawed skin lightener because it's become such an epidemic or addictive among many of the women and the men, because they seek to adopt European identity and escape their own Africanicity. So I think that it's important for Black Americans, again, not to idealize these people. They're struggling with their own issues of identity and having been infused, their cultures and their mentalities infused with the Europhilia, Eurocentric type thinking. And also that the idea of affirmative action, again, we were told, and the myth that affirmative action was specifically for Black people, it was not. There was no Black name, there was no Black laws. That affirmative action was a part of, and the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action were white women. Which is roundly acknowledged in sociology and economics and in every discipline. It's roundly that they, by far, are the primary beneficiaries, even to this day, of affirmative action in terms of that socioeconomic and political ascendancy. But the affirmative action legislation was a general legislation for people in poverty. It was part of LBJ's Great Society, War on Poverty. So there never has been any legislation, even the EOC, Equal Opportunity laws, was not specifically for Black people. It was meant for every group that was discriminated against. But again, there are other groups that such as Native Americans, who have laws specifically for them in this country to redress the abuse, the exploitation, the genocide that the American government and the American people, particularly the white community, has perpetrated against them, white women or women in general, despite it's generally for women. But we understand that the feminist movement and this legislation, such as Violence Against Women's Act and the Equal Rights Amendment in the early 1970s, they were all done via the agency of white women, primarily to benefit white women, which in turn benefits the larger white community. So we have these very disingenuous, hypocritical moves to avoid giving Black people or allowing for us to have due justice. We would deny due process in the legal system, and then we're still being denied due process via these machinations to elevate other groups, homosexuals, women, white women, recent immigrants, to a status of being more deserving of justice and socioeconomic support than we are. That's a travesty. It perpetuates the injustice. So we need to. It's important that we relocate to a place where we can do for ourselves. We have no alternative. We cannot look to anyone else to help us to achieve justice.
Well, once again, sir, well said. Please make your comment with regards to those African Americans that would have a problem with us, and what you think about that. We've got about 4 minutes left, but please address that to those African Americans who have a problem with us being an independent African American nation.
Well, again, I guess I would be pretty much echoing what you said, Captain. It's very fundamental. Then they don't have to come with us. These there are peoples all over the world who are establishing nations in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the Macedonians, the Bosnians, the Serbs, the Croats, the break-off republics of the former Soviet Union, all over the world. I mean, all over the world, there are nations that are being created that so that the people can realize their potential and pursue their own self-interest. And we have a self-interest that is separate and distinct from this American culture. We are a subculture. We're part of American society, but we are marginalized. We are a nation in exile. So if those other blacks don't want to come with us, we're not compelling you or forcing you to. We're not even trying to convince you. This organization, the IAC, is like a magnet, a lightning rod. For anyone, we want to attract those people who have the motivation and the will and the ability to establish a pioneer force of people, a plenary group, a quorum of people, so that we can create a nation. And this is something any intelligent person. And when this country was built, the pioneering spirit, they were enthusiastic. Horace Greeley said, "Go west, young man." We have a lot to be enthusiastic about. It's a wonderful thing to create something new, to go in the film Star Trek, to go where no man has gone before. This is all new for us. It's a wonderful thing. We should embark upon this venture with wonderment and awe, because not only will we be doing something that we have not done in recent history as a people coming out of this experience of the belly of this beast, the United States of America, but we'll also be realizing a potential that we have forgotten in ourselves. So there's a dormant genius and brilliance that abides within us, and the only way we're going to realize that is if we remove ourselves, disentangle ourselves from this society, and pursue our goals and our happiness as these other groups of people have come to the society to do.
Excellent, sir. In closing, as we're getting ready to shut down, Senator Sahaludeen, I wanted to say how much of an honor it was to have you as the guest on this show tonight. Sir, I look forward to listening to this archive, and your eloquence, sir, is absolutely commendable. And this is what makes me, when I talk to men like yourself and like everyone else that is listening on here, I know Brother Rob is here, Kayla's here, we had a couple of other guests that have been listening tonight. It is absolutely my honor to be able to be amongst men and women as yourselves who believe in this mission. I know without question that we can accomplish this mission, and I respect and admire every single one of you for all of the wonderful things that you bring to the table and to help create this nation. There's no question in my mind, with the collective ability that we have amongst our people, we are going to set such a great example, first and foremost for our younger generations, and then the rest of the world itself. There's no question in my mind that we have the capability in order to build this society to be one of the best in the world. The world will watch us, because the world wants to see what we're doing. And now we will be able to restore the dignity of our ancestors once and for all. It is our duty to do this. We are compelled to accomplish this mission. I would want my future generations to accomplish this mission. So with that said, thank you so much for everyone that was listening. I'm truly honored, and we look forward to doing the next show. We'll hit you up on email. Senator Sahaludeen, thank you so much, sir, for joining.
Thank you, sir. It's always an honor.